Hello everybody, my name is Sophie and welcome back to another video. Whenever Booktok hypes up a new book, and it's perhaps by an author you've never heard of before, not even like a debut author, just someone who maybe wasn't on your radar yet, and people are saying this is the new book sensation, be wary. I have yet to find a case where they were right. They have always been wrong. What's up, Booktok? What's good? When I saw a book that was 700 pages long by Sarah Jessica Parker, I said, since when is she writing books? Frank, her name is Sarah A. Parker. It's a different Sarah Parker. I do think using Sarah A. Parker as your writing name is very interesting because, first of all, you can name yourself anything, right? You could have just thought of a different name, but why would my mind not automatically go to Sarah Jessica Parker? So this book was not written by Sarah Jessica Parker, but I will be referring to the author as Sarah Jessica Parker because that's just the whole thing that I was thinking of the entire time. When the Moon Hatched is a 700-page long, high fantasy, romantasy that has everything in it that you've already seen before. And Sarah Jessica Parker has written other books. I don't remember their names. So this wasn't her first book. She had written others, but I think that this one was the one that kind of blew up her career. And I just saw a post where she was like, guys, I'm sorry, the next book is gonna come out in 2026 and not this year, 2025. And people were like, I can't wait for that long. And it's just like, do you want me to finish the story? I could guess it and probably get it right. And because, if you guys know, you know, but if you don't, you don't. I just started a new job, and it's a full-time job, and I have to commute there. Yeah. It's now cutting down my ability to physically read a book so much because I'm busy working now, full-time. And so since I spend so much time in the car, I was like, I could be reading right now. I need to focus on the road, I can't. And so I thought to myself, what could I do? And the answer that I found was audiobooks. And so I did listen to this book, When the Moon Hatched, as the audiobook. And that was possible through today's sponsor, Everand. Everand is a subscription-based service that gets you access to millions of audiobooks and ebooks all in one place. They have different languages for the audiobooks also. I did see that when Deep End by Ellie Hazelwood came out, they did have the audiobook, but in German. Since I'm German, I'm recommending it to you German. I haven't read it, I'm not recommending, I'm just telling you. I'm informing you, they do have it in German on there. And so When the Moon Hatched was also a title that was available, and I put it on a poll for my members who decided that that should be the one that I should be listening to, which arguably is a choice for the first audiobook, because I've never listened to an audiobook before. Being high fantasy, I did it. You can unlock 3 premium titles on Everand every month for the same cost as buying 1 book on Audible. Everyone gets a free 30-day trial on Everand, so if you sign up, you can immediately start listening to premium titles. And if you want to do that, you can use the link in my description. Guys! So thank you to Everand for sponsoring today's video, for making it possible for me to start my audiobook journey, because truly, I did listen to most of it, I would say, while I was commuting to work and from work. Like, that's just, it was the perfect time. I spent so much time in traffic, and so I thought, why not? You know, why not do it? And I've been really enjoying it, I have to say. I really enjoy audiobooks. It's my new thing. But as I said, it's not limited to audiobooks. They also have ebooks available on there. So if that's something you prefer, I would also recommend checking it out. Sarah Jessica Parker. She is 35, she is from New Zealand, and she desperately needs to cut off the split ends. I mean that with peace and love, like, you know, actually, who am I to speak? Well, they're straightened right now, so you can't tell, but they are dead. She does show her kid's face online, which is something that I think is definitely a choice that I wouldn't agree with. And her husband used to be a lawyer and quit lawyering. What did they do? Speaking the law. So she could become a full-time writer, and he became a full-time houseman and takes care of the children so she can write her books, which is definitely a choice if you are a good, you know, lawyer. I mean, is it hard for lawyers to find a job again once they quit? Probably not, right? That's not a field that would be hard, but it's a choice. I'm glad he's supportive. However, I don't know. She has no previous background in writing, which is not, I'm not trying to say that that means anything necessarily, but maybe I am. This book is known for its prose, for being very flowery and poetic and amazing. I am inclined to disagree. You know, I'm inclined to disagree. Before the actual story starts, we get trigger warnings, which I can appreciate for what it is. And yeah, I just want to tell you, it's a very long list. But you know what list is even longer? The glossary. I wonder how many pages the glossary is long in the physical version. Nobody is fucking reading that in the beginning of your book. As I said, oh, I'm gonna get so angry. This is a high fantasy book. Sarah Jessica Parker thought she could do it. She couldn't. Why are we thinking... I have to close my eyes because I work today, guys. I didn't lie. I did work today. I'm a little bit tired. Guys, I worked until 6 p.m. and then until I was home it was 7 p.m. She thought of an entire world system. She decided to make Avatar: The Last Airbender complicated for some reason. The thing that confused me the most is the fact that she decided to rename Day. Why? Whenever I see people take things so seriously, I'm just like, is it ever that serious? Like, a day is a fucking day. Because she wants to do her, like, own times of, like, the night is not the night, it's the slumber. The slumber. Like, are we being for real right now? Day, by the way, is just day with an E at the end instead of a Y. So why did we rename it at all? Anyway, everything has its own name, and the glossary, I don't know what it says in there. And you know what I also don't know what it says anywhere? At the beginning of the book. At the beginning of the book, it's the prologue. And the prologue is about the creation of the world. It's essentially just like how God created... Well, I imagine, because I've actually never... I don't know how God created the world allegedly in Christianity, because I never learned it, and neither do I care. But you know how he did something new every day, like he took his time with it, and so the characters, or the gods in this book also took their time with it, and she just like, on the 5th day of Christmas, my boyfriend gave to me... No. Why did I go up with the numbers? 5 lobster bisques! I don't know when she receives the lobster bisques, but that's kind of like how the beginning, the prologue reads. Essentially, you don't need it, and the moment I was listening to it, I was like, what the fuck did I get myself into? Comprehending it, reading comprehension and listening comprehension, different story. I do have a good listening comprehension, however, when this lady started, saying all these words, I was like, never mind. Never mind. I don't know why we are making things complicated, and I also think I just have to giggle because you naming the goddess of rain, girl. You know, whenever I read, I'm just, girl, what are we doing? The god of earth is called Boulder. Essentially, she just tries to make it a little bit more sophisticated. But I imagine this is new adult because they do it. Well, I don't imagine, I know, because they explicitly fuck. I didn't even explain how the world works. So they have their own systems, and there are dragons in this world, if you've heard about the book with the dragons. However, they don't do anything. They're just there. Some of them, not even all of them. It's about an assassin girl. She is from the slums. She lives in the slums. She has no family. She is not receiving any shoutouts to her family from David Guetta. And she is an assassin for some kind of resistance group. And she's super sassy, super stubborn, does whatever she wants, is arguably not very likable, and she has secrets. And people in this world can wield different elements. Some of them can't wield any, and then the most powerful can wield all of them. But it's not just one, it's not just the Avatar. Like, there's other people who can do it, but I don't know how many. I don't even know if she says that. Maybe I just made that up. I know that she wields all 4 because she is the Avatar, but I assume there are other people who do it. I think you're like normal if you have 1 power, and then you're really cool and swaggy if you have 2. and you get mad bitches if you have 3. But 4, maybe only she gets it because she's the avatar. And she lives in the city alone, and she's like hiding the fact that she can hear the elements, like 2 of them. Well, 4, but you know, she doesn't, whatever. She's assassinating people, and then she's hiding the fact that she can listen to any song at all. Like, they think she's a null. A null means nothing. It means 0 in German. And so she pretends that she doesn't wield any power, but when her enemies are near, she uses her power, and she like uses it to take their breath away, like literally. And then later in the book it's revealed that she also can listen to the 3rd one and then the 4th one also, but she has like trauma. So she doesn't really fuck with him that much. I have the lobster bisque stuck in my head, just that one line. Lobster bisque! Anyway, let's get started with the book. I haven't even said anything about the book yet. I do have to say, while I was listening, the lady reading it would sometimes pronounce words like specifically, and I was like, this is happening an awful lot. I do have the ebook version because I needed to be able to read out the quotes directly. And like, I was listening, I was like, I don't want to write this down incorrectly. I want to be accurate. So I do have it. So whenever I found something interesting, I could mark it so I can read it out to you now. When I got it and looked at it, I noticed that the author, for some reason, thinks bold italics are the end-all be-all. Every single page that I looked at had at least 5 bold italic words to emphasize, and I just wonder why. It's like, if this is definitely like a writing choice that maybe her editor noticed, and then it was like in between completely taking it out or keeping it in and being like, this is your signature now. Maybe she does it in her other books too. I will never read them, so I don't know. But girl, stop with the bold italics. Like, we get it. You don't... Can you use another literary device? Stylistic device. Can you do anything else, perhaps? The book starts with her going somewhere to kill someone who's mean to her friends or something, or to the poor. She wants to kill him, and so she pretends to be someone else. But she gets a little distracted because there's a hottie. We all get distracted by a hottie sometimes. She pretends to be someone else. She introduces herself. She says, I haven't even said her name yet, right? If I say she, I mean this main character. Because I got one singular comment one time who was like, you always say she, I don't know who you mean. Bitch, who the fuck do you think I mean? Sorry, you're not a bitch. Who do you think I mean? The main character. If you ever had a man be the main character in a young adult, new adult fantasy? Didn't think so. She introduces herself. She says, I'm Komori Daffydoni. Daffydoni. The reason I marked this is because it reminded me of an incident that I had when I was like 11 or 12 years old on this one supermodel online gaming page. I don't remember what it was called. Maybe some of you guys can help me. It was called something with supermodel, like Go Supermodel or Go Supermodels or something like that. And it was like Movie Star Planet, a little bit different, but it was similar like in what you could do. I remember begging my mom to get me like premium one time, and she did, and I was the baddest bitch on there. But you could change your area, or not area, but like country. And for some reason, when I was 11 years old, I thought I was the English goddess herself. Like, I thought I invented English, and so I decided to change it from Germany, because I'm German, to either the UK or something. Some English-speaking country, I don't remember. This is a tangent, this just, it reminded me of this, so I wanted to tell you guys the story so you feel less embarrassed about your past, maybe. I was really obsessed with Pirates of the Caribbean back then, and I wanted to be Keira Knightley so badly, and more specifically, I thought it was so cool how they said in the movie, how they said her name, which is Elizabeth. And in German, that name also exists, but you say Elisabeth. And so I thought it was so cool how they said Elizabeth. Like, the pronunciation. I thought it was so cool. I posted on the forum, they were like, if you could have a different name, what would you want to have? If you could have a different name, what would you want to name yourself? And I commented, I was like, I would want it to be Elizabeth, but pronounced Elizabeth, like B-I-F at the end. And then people started making fun of me, and I deleted my account. They were like, who the fuck wants to have a biff at the end? Anyway, Komori Defidoni, that's what it reminded me of. I don't really know how I got to that now that I talked about the story. He barely fits on the staircase himself, bold italics, meaning moving past each other is going to be a tight shuffle. Lovely. Bold italics, typical elemental bullshit, only thinking about themselves. And then further down you get, I'm absolutely not here to, bold italics, accidentally trip this male and watch him tumble down the stairs. Shut the fuck up. This is where she meets her boyfriend for the first time. This is 4% in. Though I can't see his eyes, I feel his penetrating stare with such probing intensity. My lungs pack full of stones? Can we just say I can't breathe? The thing is, and I mean this with Peace and Love, to Sarah Jessica Parker, of course, from Sex and the City. She's really trying with the prose. She's really trying to make it something sophisticated and special, but it just comes across as like too try hard. I didn't give a disclaimer, I'm gonna get in trouble. Whatever. If you like this book, that's fine. I don't think anyone, maybe you're not watching anymore, the hate comment is already written. I don't really care if you like this book or not, it was fine at the end of the day. Like, I've read worse, you know? The audiobook, I'm gonna say, was 20 hours long, so I'm just trying to make sense of why the fuck I marked this passage, because there's nothing about it. I'm like, okay, what was I trying to tell myself in that moment? Anyway, she pretends to be a barb, and then she goes to this club and she sings, and because the main dude is known to, like, he's into people who sing. He follows her home. This was exactly her plan. She's like, I called you, bitch. I'm not even a barb. Oh. She's against Nikki. She's not even a bard. She can just sing really beautifully for some reason, and I think it's because she is like, she has an affinity for all of the gods, and one of them can sing. I don't know, actually. Maybe she's just talented, you know? Gotta give it to her. And then she kills him and steals his hand because they need his hand to open the cells where people are trapped underground. And we don't see this, though. She doesn't really care. So she murders him super goodly and nicely, and it's super easy for her to just kill him, and then she has like whole monologues when she's talking to these people or any people. She's always sassy, never concerned really. You know the drill. Anyway, if you were wondering what the main love interest smells like, because you've been asking me, for once it's not pine or something like that. It's stone and cream. No, I'm a little confused. She figures out that there is another mean man out to get her. The entire organization she's working for is being hunted, and because the governor or whoever rules the city doesn't fuck with them, it's unclear how anything is going. How anything operates. Maybe it is clear and I just didn't get it. Always gotta give it the benefit of the doubt, but I can't tell you. She's mean to everybody, and we get to a point later where her love interest, of course, turns out to be the king of the desert, by the way. Racially ambiguous. We're gonna get to it. And he saves her from literally being eaten alive by dragons. And saves her multiple times after that and takes care of her, and she's like, I'm gonna escape, I'm gonna escape, I'm gonna kill him, I'm gonna escape, I'm gonna go back home. There's nobody back home. Nobody's home. She doesn't have anyone. She's like, I'm gonna go back home. And I just cannot root for a character. I'm giving it away already, but I just cannot root for a character like that because you're not giving me enough reasons to be on her side. I don't have any reason to be on her side. So she's being hunted by this other meanie. I imagine he's blonde, and he really wants to kill her. And so she's like, okay, I gotta lay low for a little bit. She goes to her boss, but that boss also has a boss. The Elden Ring King, like, I don't really know. The Elden Ring King is mentioned, and I remember this because I thought at that time he was gonna be relevant. He's not. His name is also not Elden Ring Man, that is a game. But it's something with Elden. The Elden Ring King Man of the organization, her boss says, oh, you can be happy that the Elden Ring King Man, boss of the corporation, likes you, because otherwise I would be firing you. Because she's like underneath him, And she's really mean and she's only in one scene. And it's mentioned that she has like a vial of blood from the main character and can control her through that vial of blood, and she demonstrates it. This happens in the first, like, I don't want to lie, like 10 to 15%, and then it's irrelevant. I don't know what plans she has for this series. I'm gonna give you a little bit of a spoiler. There's no plot. All of these things are mentioned, and me as a seasoned reader, I'm like, okay, these are gonna come up back later. They don't. I don't know what was going on in this book. I was constantly waiting for something to happen, for the main character to have a purpose, or for anyone to have a purpose, for anything to happen, for like any plot to follow. But it was literally nothing. It was her being kidnapped by this hot desert king. His name is Khan. She's kidnapped by a racially ambiguous man who comes from some Uga man from the desert. And he saves her, and then the entire plot is like them falling in love and her wanting to escape. But why? Let's get back to the present so this makes a little bit more sense. So, she, the main character whose name I still haven't mentioned, and I will not no, I'm going to tell you. Rave. It's Rave, but I imagine it's like, rêve. Like she was going for the French word for dream. The main character is Dream. I'm just gonna call it Dream, and you can imagine Dream. Mask on, mask off, however you prefer. Dream has one friend, and this one friend is like a chosen sister that she found in a dumpster, and then she took her in, and now they live together, and it's very evident that this lady is going to die within the next 2 pages, and she does. But then the entire motivation for the rest of the book is her wanting to escape, to return to kill this evil blonde man that I mentioned that's hunting her down, the entire organization, and because he ends up killing her sister from the dumpster. And so Dream is like, I have to return to avenge my sister from the dumpster. But we'll get to it anyway. Just in case you're wondering what she looks like, there's no bloody stains anywhere on my gown that's cinched at my waist, the gathered bustle emphasizing my round hips, and now the best part. The tight bodice makes my already full breasts almost spill from the neckline. This lady has huge, humongous boobies. Mommy milkers, if you will. My eyes widen. I had no idea I had so much currency. Bitch, just say money. She has a lot of money because she kills people and they pay her good for that, which is great. You know, you gotta be paid fairly. You gotta be reimbursed fairly. We meet her boss, but remember, she's just like the boss, and then there's the Elden Ring King man boss of the corporation, but she's the one below him, and I don't remember her name, but just so we know, and that's why I thought this was going to be relevant. It's going to come up in the other books, I don't know how many she's planning on, but I thought it was going to be relevant in this one because she meets with this lady, her boss, who can control her with her blood, and they go on an entire tangent instead of telling us, because this is first person, instead of telling us in some other way that I can't think of right now because I'm not the author. They tell us in dialogue between these two characters who were both present for this situation, what happened. Like that she gave up her blood so she could, like they tell each other about the situation. It's like, yes, you were both there. Why are you telling each other the entire fucking story? That makes no sense. You were fucking there! A deep belly laugh wrestles up my throat, spilling out in a mirthless tune. And what an option it was, I muse. Is she? No. What accent does Dream have? I actually don't know what he sounds like. Die or drip my blood into your ruined vial, and be a forever slave to your whim, able to be yanked to heal at any given opportunity. Girl, okay, you don't talk like that to anybody. What? Huh? So that's what I thought was going to be relevant. That's why when I was listening, I was like, I'm going to mark that so I can talk about it later. But anyway, never comes up again. And then we get another little insert at the beginning, which is only a Daga Mork can wield dragon flame. She thinks if she does like a little accent on the little letters, it's going to be more fancy. It does not do anything for you. Anyway, one so bonded with their dragon, they can harness its strength and fire. Though the connection is more myth than reality. Me, as a seasoned reader, I said, it's gonna become reality right fucking now. It did not become reality any time in this book. I don't know what she's planning, how long the series is gonna be, but it's interesting that she's like giving this information out already in the first book when it's not going to be relevant? Because people are going to forget. People don't pay that much attention anymore these days, you know, because of TikTok. She returns home to her friend from the dumpster, who is like very crafty, and she gave her a note. She gave Dream a note before Dream left the apartment in the morning to kill somebody, and was like, can you please give me these things? And so she was like, yes, friend from the dumpster, I'm gonna get you these things, but she forgets one single thing, okay? So she returns home, and then friend from the dumpster, she's like, why didn't you get me this one thing? She's like, oh, I couldn't read it, I'm sorry, like, I'll get it later, but I have to lay low because I'm being hunted by a blonde man. She's like, okay, that's scary, like, we're gonna lay low. And then Dream is like, to her friend from the dumpster, she's like, don't go outside, like, don't go get it yourself in the fucking slums. You're gonna get yourself killed. You're so frail and sweet and kind. So what does friend from the dumpster do? She goes out and she gets killed by the blonde man. Obviously, that's what's gonna happen next. She gets killed by the blonde man, which was the natural development of the story. We need some catalyst. We need some sort of blood. However, we've seen this 50 million times, and the moment that friend from the dumpster was mentioned, you knew she was gonna be gone. She was gonna be gone. I'm also very sure that she dies within the first 20% of the book. So you only had 20% to get to know this character, and then for her to die. And maybe I'm even exaggerating, it was only 10 or 15%. Very little time for you. Oh, the battery's empty, bye. I really cannot feel any sympathy for her dumbass friend from the dumpster, who was explicitly told, don't go there, I'm literally being hunted by a blonde man, who probably knows who you are because he's stalking me, trying to kill me. And then she gets killed, and it's like, what the fuck? She got killed! I can't believe it! I feel so bad! I can't live like this! It's like, okay, I can. There was no emotional attachment from the reader for this friend from the dumpster, and so the entire character motivation of Dream falls flat, because you're like, okay, but I can't sympathize with her, because that friend she was dumb as fuck. And so this is her entire motivation for the book. She wants to get revenge on the blonde man. She goes out herself to hunt the blonde man, but she gets captured, okay? She gets put into a cell. Very scary. I mentioned earlier that there were dragons in this book. I'm going to explain a little bit more about them now. It's going to take long. People talk about this book and talk about the fact there's dragons. And it's a dragon book. However, they are not relevant at all. They live freely, and some people bond with them and some don't. And when a dragon goes to die, they can choose to die, and then they fly into the sky and become moons. Like, they solidify in the moon and they just stay up there, in the sky, and they just stay up there. And sometimes moons fall, and that happened like 3 times in history. Of course, one is relevant to the main character. The hot desert king, the Uga man, he does have a dragon himself. And other than that, there's no relevance of dragons. They just, you know, kind of exist. And then the humans and fae kind of exist. Because they're fae, actually. I didn't say that, but they're fae. So she gets caught because of the blonde man. He brings her to the governor, or the chancellor, or whoever. And they hold a trial for her to decide her fate. And the outcome of this is that she is going to be fed to the dragons, because they sacrifice, like, people to the dragons for whatever reason. And she goes back to her cell. And then she meets the Uga man from the desert. Before she goes to the cell, if you're wondering how her trial went, she goes, apologies, my voice echoing through the vast space, forgot to bathe for our very important date. Silence in bold italics. And then bold italics. Never mind, prisoner 73. I mutter in a forged baritone. And then again, bold italics. We know you've had a lot on your plate. She's like in front of these people who are deciding her fate, and she's like, haha, like, I didn't have time to bathe. Ew, I hated that. Being super sassy, you know, she shows no fear, and she previously was severely whipped by the, of course, because we're in a fantasy book, by the blonde man, so she barely has any strength to even stand. But it just, I don't buy it. I get what Sarah Jessica Parker was going for with this character, of course I do. Like, I understand the vibe she was trying to go for, but she just, you can tell she doesn't know how to really do it, because this character is hurt and she can barely get up, but then she does get up and she does go there and then she can manage it, you know what I mean? And it's like, Okay, but then while you are in the situation, maybe comment on the fact that she's still in pain while she's doing it. Like, have her have some sort of internal monologue for me to sympathize with her. But instead it's just like, she got up and she was hurt, and now she's standing and she's just being sassy, and she goes back to her cell, and then she just hangs out there. There's like no connection between the scenes, it feels like. At least emotionally. I don't really know how to put it into words, I'm realizing. In her cell, she meets the hot Uga man from the desert. He comes to visit her. He's like, how are you doing? And she's like, I'm rather doing bad because, you know, they decided to feed me to the dragons. And he's like, yeah, that sucks. Can't really do anything about that right now. She also at one point goes, the organ in my chest squeezes so hard, I fear it might crack down the middle. Which organ? You know it's a heart. Just say my heart. What are we doing? The hot Uga man from the desert heals her before her sacrifice, and she's like, why are you doing this? Why are you wasting time on me? You're already the voice inside my head. I miss you. I miss you. No, just kidding. She's like, I don't know who you are. And he can't believe that she doesn't recognize him. And you're like, why would she recognize him? Well, we'll talk about it in a second. But he does end up healing her. And she does comment on the fact, this is so stupid. She does comment on the fact that she knows that he has a specific type of dragon, because there's different types of dragons, they have different names, I don't know them. And he has a specific type of dragon, and it's a really big and impressive one, and this is like a known fact, okay? And she makes this clear before she goes onto the stake to be sacrificed to the dragons. Imagine my shock when this big and voluptuous dragon shows up to carry her from the stake away to somewhere else. And in her mind, she does not make the connection like, oh, is this the Uga man's dragon? It's a thought she could have had. And it's so frustrating because, especially when characters like her are made out to be these super smarty parties. That's not how you say it. These super smarty pants who like see through everyone and can make plans and execute them, and they then never make any of these connections that are so obvious that they previously stated. It's like, you could have had her mind cross the thought. Like, you could have had her being carried away by this dragon. Now everyone assumes she's dead, right? They all think that the dragon ate her. And her think, doesn't the Uga king that I just saw have a dragon like this? And it would be like, oh my god, she thought about it. Yeah, like she kind of made the mental connection, but she doesn't. Is this complaining on a high level? I don't know. But it's just not so good. So the Uga king saves her, and the conversation goes as this. I'm so glad it's you. Now I finally get the pleasure of killing you. I just saved your life, says the Uga king. Perhaps a thank you is better fitting than a dagger across my throat. And it's like, yeah. And then this argument keeps going back and forth of her being like, I'm gonna kill you now. But she's in chains. But I'm gonna kill you now. And he's like, why would you do that? I literally saved you. Like, I don't know why you would do that. What are you gonna do then? She wants to escape. She wants to escape the desert. I think at this point it's important to mention that there are other POVs in this book. They're all first person, except I think one. We get the Uga King's perspective, and we also get his sister's perspective. And I think the first time we get his sister, oh my god, his sister's perspective is Chapter 69. Hey, Chapter 69 is the first time you give me the third POV, or the fourth. What the fuck is going on? Super irrelevant POV, super clunky, and also written in the same exact tone as the main character. Sometimes I had to stop listening and then continue listening, and then I didn't know whose perspective I was in. Yeah, that happened. But you're gonna say, who is the other perspective? We have the Uga King, Dream, from Minecraft, and then also the sister, not from the dumpster, but the sister from the Uga King, the Uga sister. It's the Unknown. The Unknown is the fourth mysterious character that lives within Dream, and she gets a chapter twice. Both times I tuned out, gotta be honest. I don't really give a fuck about the Unknown. I imagine it as the Unknown from Willy Wonka Experience. It's not called the Unknown, it's called the Other. And it lives within her, and it's like vicious and stuff like that. It's very evidently like a piece of her dragon. Ugh, I'm just gonna tell you now, okay? I'm not gonna keep the mystery up any longer. We also get chapters of diary entries. We have so many POVs, so much going on. Why? Of mysterious diary entries of like a girl that was royalty and lost her family and then blah blah blah, and you're like, who is it? Who is obviously the main character? Why the fuck would we be getting diary entries from anyone else? The main character, Dream, had a life before. She's like royalty and stuff, whatever. And then something happened that made it that her and her dragon flew together up in the sky and solidified. And so then the Uga King, who was in love with her back then, that's why he recognized her in the cell, thought that she was dead, right? And he was so sad about it. And he sees her again the first time when she pretends to be a barb. And it's a bard, I know, but I think barb is funnier. And he recognizes her and he can't believe his eyes, that 1 million fireflies. And so he's like trying to figure out if she can remember anything, but she can't. Just when she starts hanging out with him more, she can remember more and more. And if you're like wondering what are those remembrances that she has, it's about his big penis. His big penis is all she remembers. Anyway, that was her life before, and then there was an incident that doesn't get explored further in this book. I'm sure it's gonna be revealed later. I mean, I hope so, but I don't care. That made it so that she died with her dragon and then returned to life. And the way that happened is because the moon fell. And then the moon hatched. And then she hatched with the moon. I'm pretty sure that the unknown is like the dragon inside of her, because she was like dead or close to death when they flew up in the sky. And I imagine that with some kind of magic, this dragon, like there are hints at it also throughout the book. I don't think it's that she does a very good job at being mysterious about it. The dragon took her up into the sky and then like nurtured her back to life throughout multiple eons or whatever the timing is in this book. When Dream was like healed, right? The moon fell and therefore it splintered into a lot of pieces and she hatched out of the moon. That's the title. There you go. She doesn't remember this. She starts remembering it as she's back and she's like, that's not me. I'm not whatever the fuck her name was before, because Dream is only her middle name. But she doesn't know that, obviously, because she doesn't know who she was before. There's also like a subplot going on where the Uga King is like, yeah, but you left me for another male. You were bound to him, because he has 2 brothers and they're evil. And I think, if I understood correctly, she bound with one of his brothers or / another blonde man. And that is, of course, not acceptable. And that blonde man that she was bound to was because of political arrangements, because she came from like a royal family, and so she had to do it because she didn't have any family left, and they like forced her or whatever, and she did it to save the Uga King, who she loved so much. And he always thought that she left Dream left him because she didn't like him anymore, or she liked the blonde man more, I'm not sure. But that's not the case. Don't worry, that's not the case. She just pretended so he could be safe. And like that's the big reveal at the end, that she was just pretending to keep the Uga King safe. And it's like, this is not a revelation, this is something we already knew. It's like, I don't know if it's because I've read a lot of books that are exactly like this, that it's just like very evident what was going on here, or if it's because Sarah Jessica Parker can't write high fantasy. Maybe it's a mix of both. But all of these plot points were so clear, and there was at no point, any mystery. No point. Like the whole diary entries of like this other character, and it doesn't say that it's Dream, right? This is a reveal that it's Dream from the past. Who else is it supposed to be, guys? Did you think it was going to be anyone else? Were you shooketh? Do you still say that word, shooketh? And then it's also revealed at the end, I'm just gonna, we can just skip everything, that they have a child. They have a child. Her and the Uga King, Dream and the Uga King have a child. She pretended to be with the blonde king to keep the child safe. Luckily, the child came out blonde. And that child is now fully grown. Maybe she's 16, I don't remember. We get one scene with her, I don't remember. Nobody knows that it's the child of them. Like, the Uga King doesn't know he had a child, and obviously Dream doesn't remember. But it says it in her diary, which the sister finds. The sister's POV only exists so she can go find the diary where for some reason she wrote everything down, and that's very lucky for them because otherwise they wouldn't know. My favorite line, as always, besides the word exquisite, is when people say prime, and she says they're both frightening, basking in their prime. Ugh. I told the story before, so I'm not gonna tell it again, but I know someone who once used that as a genuine argument, and that is just so like Andrew Tate core that I just cannot take it seriously when anyone uses it. Count slower, I growl, flattening my hands upon his abdomen, introducing myself to a stack of muscles that feel more like rocks. Yes, super big muscles, super big penis also. Very big. He may have saved me from the Colosseum and had my back mended, but he's still a tyrant. Based on the way he stuffed his finger in my wound and made me scream, I'd say he has the same brutal streak as his kin. Because he's an ooga ooga, like, savage. You'll see, guys. This is not coming from nowhere. Probably worse, knowing my luck. So he saved your life, made sure you were okay, had you mended, then made sure you ate and got you cleaned. And you're like, well, he did put his finger in my wound once. He must be a fucking bitch. And the reason he did that, by the way, is to take out a piece of metal that was in her shoulder. So he didn't just put it in there for fun. Like, he was trying to get it out. And I'm pretty sure that she was aware of this, but maybe we're just ignoring it. And then she does say the word exquisitely later. My breath hitches as I take in the small wonky one I love so much, sketched so exquisitely I can make out its misshapen wing. She's referring to a dragon or like a dragon egg in the sky that he has tattooed on him, and there's like one specific one that she loves so much, and that's actually her brother's from back in the day. Her brother died, and then the dragon took him up in the sky with him. And so she has like this strange connection to the moon because it's her brother, but she doesn't notice at this point. And then yet again, he's taking care of her. He's cooking her a meal. She goes, I do as he said, needing my strength if I'm going to make a swift escape when the opportunity strikes. Why? Why? I think the author just assumed that her wanting to avenge her friend from the dumpster would be enough reason for me to root for this main character and her plan to escape. But at this point in time, this is 37% in, there is no reason for her to go back. It is also very evident that if she asked the Uga King to help avenge, like if she just communicated with him and was like, you know what, my friend from the dumpster, I liked her very much. She was killed by this blonde man. Can you help me kill him and avenge him? And then I come back here because I don't really have anything else to do. Then he would be like, yeah, I can help you. But it's just so frustrating because genuinely there's no reason to root for her reasoning. And so when it keeps coming up of her like wanting to escape, and she does escape and she gets herself in trouble, it's just all the more frustrating. Frustrating. If you're wondering how big he is, here's a little description. I pull out some equally soft pants that are short enough they likely cut off at Khan's knees. They'll probably still swallow me. What are the logistics behind that? They are shorts for him. Shorts. And they swallow her. Is this the tallest man alive? The urge to tangle with his thick beard and tug at the strands? She wants to pull his beard when she's horny. Like at the bottom like this? I shouldn't do that. She wants to escape, but she's also really horny at the same time. And he's sleeping outside of her room that she's staying in right now because they're just making a little break. You know, they're flying with his dragon to his kingdom, but they have to take a little break. And then he's sleeping outside the door on the sofa naked. Cock out. And so she sees him, like she already wants to get it, right? And so she sees him laying outside and she's like, I really want to get it now. You don't even have pants on. And the way she goes is, complex bundle of discarded emotions spat back at me, splatting against my heart, where it sinks between the gaps, leaching towards my fleshy core. Your fleshy core? Your vagina? He growls, his thick manhood swelling beneath my ass. His fingers skim my stretched expanse, feathering around my flushed, swollen slit. Ugh, this is so nasty. This does not sound so nice to me. And then he's like, what do you want from me? What do you want from me? And she goes, I want a meaningless release. And he's like, okay, then we're just not gonna do this. Because I want you to love me. Like you did back in the day, like 100 years ago. because they're fae, so they're immortal. So they don't do it, you know, she's sexually frustrated now. Of course she wants a meaningless one. You know, if this would have been Reese, he would have still gone through with it, because he's a giver. She makes the further escape, and funnily enough, she gets caught by the Uga clan. And now, guys, I want your opinion on this. I don't know if I'm being dramatic when I say this feels low-key racist, but this is a desert kingdom that he rules. His name is Khan, right? They speak a different language. For some reason also, I haven't mentioned this yet, she thought that we would need this different language. I don't know if there's like a guide for it that you can learn it. Like she thinks it's Lord of the Rings or something, I don't know. These people keep speaking in this specific language on page. And I don't know why we need that, if I'm being honest. Like, it's taking up too much fucking space. Why are we inventing this whole new language? Just have it be like, I don't understand what they're saying, because the main character, Dream, she does not know what they're saying. She doesn't speak their language, but still she will write it on the page. And it's like, what am I supposed to do with this? No, that's not the worst part. That's whatever. Like, that's just me personally. I don't need the fucking language on the page if nobody understands what they're saying. The Uga clan that I keep referring to, that this man, this king, was a part of, and then he ripped off his dad's head and then he became the king of the whole desert. He was only the king of the clan. They find her in a river and they're like, oh my god, it's a white woman. And then there's a creature that appears, and I don't know what it's supposed to look like. Maybe like a tiger. And it's called the Fate Herder. And this Fate Herder just pushes you into the direction of where you're supposed to go, literally. They see she's in this lake, or they pull her out of this lake, these two men who don't speak her language, who are racially ambiguous. And then they see the Fate Herder, and they instantly kneel on the ground, and they're like, praying. Like, they're worshipping this thing. Her reaction to this is, it occurs to me that it's probably what I was supposed to do when I first saw the Fate Herder. Kiss the ground. Instead, I tried to run from it, yelled at it, snarled at it, and essentially told it to fuck off. It'll probably give me a shit fate. And honestly, it's warranted. I've certainly got enough blood on my hands to justify it. You're a millennial, I can tell. You're a millennial. Because it's like, okay, like, you're a baddie. Yeah, you're a baddie. Rafe, or whatever fuck your name is, you're a baddie. You're so crazy, you're so different that you were mean to this creature. Now, you're saying, Sophie, what are you talking about? These two men then take her with them to their place. The underground clan or something, or in a cave or something. Everyone's like, oh my god, the Fate Herder, you must be this promised prophecy person that we have a prophecy about. And then these two men start getting ready and like get drawn on, and then they fight for her hand to have children with her. Okay. They're like, oh, there's a trial. And she just kind of lets this happen. She's like, I don't really have much of a choice. I'm just gonna go with them. And there's one lady who speaks her language, and she goes, you have beautiful shape. Such lovely curves. They objectify women in this clan, I gotta say. Like, no hate, but like, we have the objectification of women fighting for her hand to have children, to have offspring. It feels weird to me, I don't know. She does not understand what's going on, and then they're like, okay, like, they're literally fighting for you. They are fighting for the great honor of being bound to you. The honor of building a life and producing offspring with Kolu is the greatest one could wish for. To pin the moons to the sky for good will ensure the future for offspring of the entire Jokul clan and their offspring and theirs. To secure such peace is a great privilege. They fight for her. One of the guys wins, and he's like, let's go make a baby, because that's what women do in this clan. She's like, I'm gonna fight for myself, because I'm a baddie. And then she fights for herself, she almost dies, then the Uga king arrives, and then he fights for her, and he wins, and kills the other man who won before that. And now he's bound to her. Luckily, we have, you know, we're just binding to everybody, we're just, you know, giving women away, nothing else to do. She then leaves again with him to his kingdom, where everyone is happy and living in the desert, and so happy, and also living in the desert. Do I look like I've been institutionalized? I feel like I look like a sick Victorian child. I do have a sleeping gown on, if you're wondering. It's floor length. And I did fall ill. So, apologies, but the hate keeps on coming. I can't help it. I have also a bone to pick with everybody who has ever made fan art and then just decided that the fan art should look nothing like the book description. I'm exaggerating. It does look kind of like the people, meaning generic, racially ambiguous man and a lady who's either blonde or dark-haired. In the book, there are multiple incidents where she says she has locks. I ease my thick, heavy locks away. And I'm not thinking that because we know she ain't black, she doesn't have locks like that. But when I imagine locks, I imagine luscious curls. Thick, luscious curls. Color me surprised when I go onto the author's Instagram page and she reposts fan art. And all of those bitches have straight hair. That doesn't make sense. And then the main dude is described to have black hair. Oh my god. Color me surprised again the second time when I go onto the author's Instagram and the dude in all of the fan art has brown hair. Can you guys not read? Anywho, I just feel like if I made fan art, I would at least try to make it a little bit similar. I rummaged through the woven baskets to discover a pair of black knee-high boots. Fine, continues, with thick soles and laces down the front. What the fuck? Not sure where she's going in that while she's going out. I told you all about the plot already, and there isn't like anything happening from the beginning. So there genuinely isn't anything happening. I told you how she used to be someone, or she is a person who lost her memory from her life before. There was a mysterious incident where her moon fell to the ground and she hatched from the moon and now can't remember anything in the past, and that she was bound to like an evil blonde man and had a child before she passed or didn't pass. The entire book just consists of like these diary entries that are super unnecessary. Her having flashbacks to her life with the Uga King where they're just having diabolical sex. Like that's all she remembers. She tries to escape at one point, probably in these fuck-ass boots. Yeah, but then she finds a hut where they hid to make love in it because their love was low-key forbidden because she was royalty and he was just, you know, a peasant, maybe even a savage, if you will. And they had this hut where they would just fucking, and so when she goes there and then she remembers all of the fucking, and then they fuck in the shed. Like truly there isn't anything to tell you. The end revelation is that she had a child before she lost her memory, and it's just so interesting to me because what the fuck did I read for 700 pages? What the fuck did I listen to for 20 hours? How can you write a book with so little substance and people love it? There's a random character, I don't even remember what is happening in the scene, and her name is Geil, which in German means horny, literally translated, which I thought was funny. But people use it more in like a colloquial sense of like, if something's really cool, then they say that word. But I thought it was funny. He comes to the hut where she is staying in, and it's like a little bit like secretive about it, but everybody knows she's there. Then he sleeps over and they cuddle, and then in the morning he wakes up and he's like, we have to talk about something important. And then he goes, would you like me to come around and bend you over the table? Fuck you right here so we can get it over with, or would you like to draw it out a little bit? I mean, thanks for being so direct, King. Uga King. At one point, because we do get his perspective also, he is like thinking, oh, I wish she would sing to me. I've heard her voice is so good. He specifically says, I imagine a rave is a blend of both. Sewing knots in my chest I treasure despite the agony they cause, whatever. He's like, oh, she probably sounds like this one god of water and the god of whatever intertwined. And I just have to remind everybody that in the beginning of the book, he literally heard her sing, so I don't know what he's imagining. In the beginning of the book, her first dude that she killed shows that she's a baddie assassin that doesn't kill anybody besides the dude in the beginning. She was pretending to be a barb, if you remember, and Mr. Uga King was present for this incident. So I don't know what we're acting like he's never heard her sing before, but he's like, I imagine. Why are you you listened to it. What are we imagining? My attention homes in? Doesn't it mean, isn't it hone? My attention hones in on his hardness pressed against my backside, the muscles under my tongue tingling. The muscles under her tongue? She wants to give him head so bad that her muscles under her tongue are tingling. What the fuck kind of description are we doing here? That's the end of the book. Literally, there's nothing going on. I don't know why people like to talk about the dragons. There are dragons in this book. They have no relevance at all. Nobody gives a fuck about the dragons realistically. They're just there to carry people around. Them being moons also has no significance. I'm not sure if they are going to fall down all at once and like maybe whip out the entire population and then there's gonna be dinosaurs again, like we're gonna do it reverse. And I can't wait to not see, because I really don't give a fuck about this book. Thank you for voting for this, my members. So kind of you. I could have read like something else, but I had to read this, listen to it for 20 hours. Speaking of my members, I want to give a shout out to them because I'm just joking, I love you. You always pick the worst ones, and I'm grateful for that because otherwise I wouldn't have content. My members get to vote on my reads, and they usually also get my days early. My videos a day early. They also get exclusive content such as my Ruby Red movie commentary, and I'm planning on doing more movie commentary this upcoming year. No, this year. So if that's something you're interested in, you can consider becoming a member. And I want to thank 2 people in specific who have joined the Book Hater Club officially. I Won the World and Diana Angel. Thank you guys so much for joining. I hope you enjoyed this rant, and please make sure to vote on the next poll that I will put up, which I don't know which books I'm going to put on there yet. I haven't thought that far. Her posting on Instagram that she's going to take her time with the next book is just so fascinating to me. It was such a nothing, how do people say in America, nothing burger? I'm not sure why it's a burger. Maybe because it's America. Sorry. Sorry. Again, let me know what you guys thought of the book. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed this rant. Thank you again to Everand, and I hope you stay happy, you stay healthy, peace and love, and hopefully I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye.